welcome to DIY with Nancy. Well, today I'm going to show you my recipe for Pataniscas de Bacalhau. Essentially what they are cod fritters that are made with some flour, a whole bunch of other ingredients, but of course I'm going to show you how to make them. And they're great for an appetizer, side dish, you know what, anything really. They're so good, delicious. Once you eat one, I can guarantee you will continue eating these. I'm going to show you how to make them two ways. You can make them in a smaller portion for an appetizer or a larger portion if you want to serve it for lunch, dinner, side dish. Either way, they're very easy to make, and I'm going to show you how to make Pataniscas de Bacalhau step by step. Now let's get started with the first step. I have here 450 grams of codfish. Now the codfish I soaked in water for 24 hours, changing the water once just to remove the salt from the codfish. Now I've started by placing water in a medium-sized saucepan. I've let it come to a boil. Once it comes to a boil, at this point I'm going to place all of the codfish in the boiling water. So I'm going to place it all in there. And now that the codfish is in the water, I'm going to let it come to a boil. Once it comes to a boil, I'm going to let it boil for 7 minutes, and then I'll show you the next step. Now I've had the codfish boiling for about 7 minutes, and I'm ready for the next step. I'm going to turn off the heat, place the codfish in a strainer, and I have a dish underneath just to have the excess water go into that dish. And just place all of the codfish into the strainer, just as I'm doing here. Now, as you can see, I have the codfish water in the saucepan. I'm going to need this for the recipe later on. So I'm going to leave it here and move on to the next step. Now, I have the codfish that has cooled. Once your codfish is cooled, it's easier to handle. And at this point, what I'm going to do is remove the skin from the codfish. So I'm going to remove all the skin, and I have a side dish here, which I'm going to place the codfish, and I'm going to continue doing that, and I'll show you the next step. Now moving on to the next step, I have here a clean tea towel that I'm going to place the codfish in, and I'm going to remove the excess water by placing the codfish in the tea towel, and then I'm just going to place a dish underneath so I can remove all the excess water, just as I'm doing here. So it's shredding the codfish and removing the excess water. Now, as you can see, there's quite a bit of water in there. So we're going to set that aside. I'm going to place the codfish onto a side dish. You can see it's nice and shredded into small pieces. It's a perfect step. It's a 2-in-1 step. That's what I call it. It's nice and shredded. We're going to place that aside, and we're going to get ready for the mixture. Now here's the bowl where I'm going to be mixing all of the ingredients. I'm going to start off with 3 eggs. Now I'm going to get a side bowl because what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate the eggs. Now where I'm going to mix all of the ingredients, the large bowl, I'm going to place 1 whole egg. So I'm going to start off with 1 whole egg, break it into a large bowl. Then I'm going to take the balance of the 2 eggs and I'm going to separate them. I'm going to place the whites in the small bowl and the yolks in the large bowl. So I'm going to separate it. This is just the way I separate my yolks from my whites. So again, you're separating 2 egg whites into a separate bowl. And in the large bowl where you're mixing all the ingredients, you're placing 1 whole egg and 2 egg yolks. I'm just going to finish doing the last egg here, place the yolk into the large bowl, and I'm going to take the whites and I'm going to set it aside. We're going to need it for later, and we're going to mix the 2 egg yolks and 1 whole egg in the large bowl. Now I've mixed my eggs. I'm going to start adding the ingredients. I have a 1/4 cup of finely chopped parsley, and next I'm going to place 1 small onion finely chopped. Take your whisk, mix it together until well combined. And I'm going to continue adding the balance of the ingredients. So now I'm going to add 1/2 teaspoon of ground white pepper. To that, 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder. Now I'm going to add 1/2 teaspoon of pepprika. And this is where I add 1 cup of the codfish water, which I reserved earlier in the saucepan. Now I'm taking the whisk. I'm going to whisk everything together, get all those flavors absorbed into the mixture. I want to make sure I mix this very well and it's all combined. And at this point, I'm going to add the shredded codfish, and I'm going to place it all into the bowl. Okay, that's it. I have all my codfish in there. Now I'm just going to mix the codfish to absorb all those flavors. These pataniscas are going to taste so wonderful. I'm just actually going to switch to my spatula, and I'm going to scrape down the sides of the bowl. Okay, the mixture is well combined. Next, I'm going to add some salt for seasoning. I'm adding about half a teaspoon. You can add the seasoning to your liking. And now to bring this batter together, I'm going to place 1 cup of all-purpose flour. And I'm just evening out the flour on the 1 cup. It's 250 milliliters. So I'm placing the flour into the bowl, and I'm going to set that aside. And now to that, I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. The cornstarch is going to help with it, making the fritters crispier, and also helps with browning the fritters as well. So I'm going to mix it together, and this is what's going to bring the batter together. So we're going to mix it together just as I'm doing here, and I'm going to continue stirring it until the flour is well incorporated and I see no more flour. Okay, now that I have the flour and cornstarch well incorporated into my codfish batter, I'm going to set it aside. I'm going to take the 2 egg whites that I set aside earlier. And for the next step, I'm going to use my handheld mixer to whisk together the egg whites to stiff peaks. Now, using my handheld mixer, it's just going to take about a minute or 2 to get it to stiff peaks. Okay, I'm just about done. I've reached the stiff peaks, and now just to do the test, you can see the egg whites hold on to the spatula perfectly. You know, they're perfectly stiff peaks. Now for the last ingredient, I'm going to incorporate the egg whites into the codfish batter. And once I have the egg whites in the batter, and I want to make sure I have all my whites in there, make sure I scrape down the bowl. And now I'm going to gently fold the egg whites into the codfish batter. And what it will do is it will make it a very fluffy interior fritter. So you're going to have a fluffy interior and a crispy exterior. So this batter is well combined. Look at that. I have a perfect fluffy batter. Okay, my batter is ready. We're ready to move on to the stove to get the fritters fried. Now moving on, I have vegetable oil heated in a deep fryer. I have a tray to drain the oil, and of course I have the batter. And I have here 2 scoops. I have a larger scoop and I have a smaller scoop. To make appetizers, I like using the smaller scoop, but if I'm making it for dinner, I use the larger scoop. So I'm going to start off with making the fritters with a smaller scoop. Just as you see, I'm just scooping some up, dropping it into the oil, and it helps if you dip your scoop into the oil, so that way the codfish batter can be released easier. So as you can see here, I'm taking scoopfuls of the codfish batter and carefully dumping it into the hot oil. Now, you want to make sure you don't overcrowd the deep fryer, so I'm going to put about 7 or 8 because they're quite small. But if I'm making the larger ones, I'll put probably 4 or 5. I don't want them overcrowded. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to simply let them fry in the deep fryer for about 2 to 3 minutes, or until they're lightly golden brown. Now I have my heat on a medium heat. I'm going to just let them fry, make sure it's on a medium heat here. Let them fry, like I said, for about 2 to 3 minutes. You'll see they'll become nice and golden brown. And once you see that the whole fritter is golden brown, just as you see it here, at that point, you know you're ready to take it out. Look how quick it is. They look perfect, nice and fluffy on the inside and then crispy on the outside. Now let me show you what the appetizer size fritters look like. Just in the palm of your hand. They're bite size, they're perfect, and great for appetizers. Now for a larger portion, I'm using my larger scoop, and you're going to make the fritters generally the same idea. You're going to use a larger scoop. I like to put about 4 or 5 at one time. Again, just not to overcrowd the deep fryer. And now for the larger fritters, I like to generally keep them for an additional minute in the deep fryer, so about 4 minutes. Okay, I'm going to finish up frying the fritters, and then I'm going to show you what they look like inside. recipe for Pataniscas de Bacalhau. See how easy it is? It's honestly so delicious. I want you to see, I bite into one just to see for seasoning, check for seasoning. They're very fluffy. They pull apart perfectly. They're filling. Like I said, you can have them for a snack, dinner, lunch. Really, it's totally up to you. They're so good. I can tell you that if you have one, you will want more. I hope you give this recipe a try. It's well worth it. And there you have it, everyone. That's my recipe for Pataniscas de Bacalhau. As you can see, I made it in a smaller portion and a larger portion. You can even make it bigger if you'd like. Totally up to you. They're fairly easy, very delicious. They're very fluffy. And I hope you like this recipe. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, thanks so much for watching. Take care, everyone.